Hello everyone, my name's Duncan Bunce. I'm course leader for A-Level Law, and I'm going to talk to you about my subject and some of the most frequently asked questions that you might have. So in this presentation we're going to be looking at what will be studied in terms of topics and so on, how will I be learning, how students are assessed, is this exam based, coursework based, materials you'll need to be able to engage right from day one, and where this subject might take you. So what will be studied? A-Level Law consists of three core units. Unit 1, Criminal Law, Unit 2, Tort Law, and Unit 3, Contract Law. The last one that you can see on the end there, which is pervasive, is the English legal system. What this essentially means is there isn't one particular exam paper by itself set for the English legal system. Topics within it, such as the role of a jury, the role of the judiciary, judges in civil and criminal law, these will be spread across the other three units and studied as part of those. Now for criminal law, I'm going to set out the topics for this and then move on to the others. I'm not going to go into any great detail about these, but maybe just pick one or two out. So for criminal law, it begins with the topic murder and ends with strict liability. For instance, one of the interesting cases that we studied, because I always like to try and relate what we're learning to what's going on in the world as well, is a case that's been in the news called the Sally Challen case. This was a murder case, but also one that overlapped into voluntary manslaughter, because if you're learning voluntary manslaughter, it essentially means you're going to be learning the special and partial defences to murder. Now, she was an abused spouse and she killed her husband one day. She ultimately went to prison, but her argument was that she was suffering from diminished responsibility, which is a special defence to murder. Likewise, another defence to murder is loss of control. So we explore that case in more detail. Was she suffering from an abnormality of mental functioning that caused her to behave irregularly and therefore kill her husband? Or did she suffer a loss of control because he did something or said something or both, and any normal person with her circumstances and characteristics would have suffered the same way or would have reacted the same way? In tort law, you'll start with basic negligence and go on to deal with remedies as well. Remedies is essentially what you can expect from the court if you win your case. But just to take one example, psychiatric injury. If, for instance, you were somebody who witnessed an accident because of someone's negligence, let's say, for example, that a person was speeding in their car, not paying attention to the laws of the road and the speed limits, and they crashed into another car and the person in the other vehicle suffered a severe personal injury. Now, perhaps you witnessed that. Are you able to make a claim if you yourself suffer psychiatric injury? What if you're the passenger in one of the vehicles? Would you be able to be successful in your claim there? So really, it's a really interesting area where the law tries to find a balance in terms of who can and can't make a claim if they suffer mental injury. You'll also be looking at contract law. Now, it looks like at face value there are less topics here, but in fact I've just combined a few of those. Elements of a contract is quite a large one. So for instance, if I just take vitiating factors, there may be circumstances where a contract just can't be performed between two parties. Now, given the recent outbreak of COVID-19 and the pandemic, it may be that due to an unforeseen event such as that, if a contract can't be fulfilled by both parties because of the COVID-19, then neither party's at fault and the contract can just cease to be. I should also say as well, there are some theory topics. Now these are spread again across all three units. Some do, or rather some get revisited twice, but we'll be looking at justice, fault, morality, and also conflicting interests, all within the prism of the law. How will I be learning? So this isn't an exhaustive list, but just some of the ways in which you will be. I've already mentioned problem scenario questions. This is one of the clear focuses of this subject, and certainly the type of questions you'll get when you're assessed. Think of them as stories, narratives, and you, in your capacity as a lawyer, have to give your legal opinion, explaining the law first before doing so. Much like this video right now, there are also going to be online videos for which you can access for topics. Given the new normal that we're in at the moment, these are something designed to support your learning as you are going to get used to working at home, online, as well as working in the college. I should also say as well that I'm very keen for you not just to be learning from a textbook and applying that to exam questions. Whilst that is important, it is also important that you develop other skills. So we'll look at courtroom role play. It could be that you participate in a mock trial. It could be that you actually participate, as this young lady is in the picture, in a moot. Now, mooting is something that typically only universities offer. Think of it as a barrister role play exercise. So this is something I'm very keen, I should say, to have you be involved in, because whilst sitting an exam and passing it is important, of course it is, and doing your very best, being at college, and certainly with my subject, is about developing your skills as well, preparing you for the next step after college. Now that could be research skills that we've talked about. It could be communication skills, such as this young lady here, and how you present to an audience. All of these things I will be working on with you. There is huge scope for debates in law, things that come up in the news at the time. It could be topics such as the death penalty, euthanasia, or if we go back to 2019, it could be the issue of the Jeremy Kyle show, if you remember that, and whether or not the show and its team acted negligently in the death of one of its guests. But also, I like to throw the activity back to students in terms of what I like to call teach me. So whilst you're doing a course and you have to learn the topics that I've went through for that exam, I also like to give opportunities for you to research outside of the specification. Now that could be a case that you've heard about that interests you personally, or another area of the law, for example family law, and then you come back and teach me that and also teach others. How students are assessed. As I've alluded to already, this is purely an exam-based subject. There is no coursework here. This is not BTEC law, it is an A level. There are 3 units or 3 exam papers that I've mentioned, each of those 2 hours in total, and each of those with the same format and style of question. So you're going to have a mixture of short and long questions. Short ones will be 5 multiple choice questions, testing your knowledge and understanding. And then they move forward all to the end through the paper till you get to the largest long question, which is a 30 marks question, a problem scenario. And like I said before, you are then expected to identify the key issues, much like a lawyer would, explain the law in detail, and then give your view. Now, in terms of studying law, one of the most exciting things about it and the most unique things about it are the cases that we study. So you will be studying, for many of these topics, leading cases that have been decided in court, real people, real lives that have had an issue, be it in criminal law or tort law, whatever it might be, and the court has then decided upon them. These principles or rules that are then established from the judge's judgments are then used later on in other future cases where there's a similar point of law. And that's how our English legal system works. So we're going to be researching real cases, and for you as a law student, you're going to be citing these cases. So when you explain the law, you're going to raise that particular case and explain what was decided in that case and why it's so pivotal in terms of reaching a decision in this new one. I should also say that one of the things that all courses have, and certainly mine, is we have a virtual learning environment, otherwise known as a VLE. Crucially important, particularly in times such as now where we're doing more online learning. But when you start the college, you will have access to this VLE for each of your courses. And here's just a snapshot of mine briefly, and you can see that you can access all online resources for each of the units directly there, be it in college or outside of college. And you can also see there, if I just pick a couple of things out, there is the exam hub, where I've collected all past exam papers for you to actually use in terms of your study and revision, because of course practice makes perfect. And also revision aids, such as videos, such as audio, podcasts and so forth. And careers. We have a fantastic careers department at Strode's, but I'm also keen that for my students who may want to study law at higher education, be it in terms of a degree or an apprenticeship, that I'm also able to give you the best advice I possibly can. Materials needed. So to be able to participate and engage from day one, there are 2 textbooks that you will need. I've placed pictures of them here on the left hand side and the titles on the right. The first is AQA A Level Law for Year 1, and then the next one for Year 2. Both are by the author Jacqueline Martin and obviously a few other authors as well. You will need both textbooks from day one. The reason for this is because I teach the exam units by the topics that are included in them. So if I start with crime, I'm going to be teaching all the crime units in the order I showed you. Unfortunately, the textbook decides to spread some of the topics over the 2 books, because of course this is a 2-year course. So again, you will need both, but I'm also conscious of the fact that, wait until you have your place secured at the college and for this subject until you order them, to avoid any disappointment. So where this subject might take me, what I would say is that it's quite a broad question, and the sky's the limit, really, as I've shown a picture of here. Clearly, if you're doing A-level law, and if you then go on to do a degree in the subject, or a degree in another subject, and then do a course that tops that up with law, or if you do an apprenticeship, all of this could lead to possibly you becoming a legal practitioner. So you could become a lawyer, you could become a solicitor, you could become a barrister. Those roles are quite different. You could also become a paralegal or a legal executive. Again, each role different and worth looking into. But doing A-level law, or doing it at whatever higher education aspect it may be, doesn't mean you have to become a legal practitioner. Far from it. What it can lead to is other related occupations, such as the police. Many of my students want to join the police, and of course having a degree is a requisite now in joining. You could also find yourself working in the civil service or the government. You could find yourself becoming an academic, so for instance a teacher, be it at college level or university level, a researcher. You could also find yourself working in non-profit organisations. There are a whole number of things. What I would say is law is a well-respected subject, and whatever it is you might do, and I'm going to mention here, for example, if you were to do a degree, the skills that you'll learn, not just at the A-level but also there, such as organisational skills, research skills, which we've talked about, communication skills, these are all transferable into whatever career path you want to follow. And so law really does put you in good stead. So Law's summer assignment for all of you. I want to read you just briefly, as you can see on the screen, a little scenario. Your ship sinks and you wash ashore on a desert island, joined by other survivors. Now a community, what laws should everyone follow and why? What are the consequences of not following them? Now your task is this. I would like you to write your own constitution, your set of laws. How is your island going to be governed? What do you feel are the important laws that everyone needs to abide by, to obey? And certainly, if they do not, what can they expect? Will it be punishment? Will it be a fine? Will it be imprisonment? Maybe it won't be anything at all. Will your island be a democracy? Will your island recognise human rights? The sense of equality before the law? It's over to you, but certainly the more detailed you can be in explaining your constitution, the more impressed I will be. I'm also conscious of the fact that many of you undertaking law or about to undertake law are clever cookies. So I want to point you in the direction of this. Some of you may know it already. If you click the link, or rather copy and paste the link into your browser window, you'll find that it takes you to a BBC Radio 4 series called Law in Action. These podcasts are regularly updated on current affairs issues. For instance, how courts are functioning during the current pandemic, or vicarious liability, where you suffer a personal injury and you sue the employee who caused it, or rather you sue the employer, I should say, who caused it. So again, well worth checking out. And what I would like you to do, please, is pick any one that interests you, listen to it, and then make a summary note. Just make a note, bullet points is fine, of what you've learnt. So you've captured and recorded that, for your folder. So, just really finishing here, for me to say just a couple of things before that. I'm also trying to think of other questions that might come up. Do you need any prior experience of the law to do this course? For example, some of you may have undertaken GCSE law, and the answer is no. If you've done GCSE law, then you will have some knowledge of some of the topics we'll be revisiting. For example, the English legal system. But this is an A level, and compared to GCSE, the challenge is much higher, and we'll be doing it in far more detail. There's also a common misconception I want to sort of deal with here, and that is that some admissions departments at school or careers or whatever it might be say that you don't need to do A-level law if you want to go on and do, for example, a law degree or something like that. In fact, they may even say that to do A-level law would be a disadvantage. This is plainly not true. While it may have been something that was discussed many years ago, the truth of the matter is that if you're interested in law and if any of these topics sound interesting to you, then I heartily recommend that you do it. If you're thinking that you possibly want to become a legal practitioner, a lawyer, then it's better to actually undertake A-level law first, because it gives you a good footing before you go on and study at higher education. Secondly, you may enjoy the course, and I think you will, but for a minority of people, it may be you enjoy the course, but it helped make your decision as to you not wanting to pursue it further at higher education. Equally, it may have the opposite effect, and you apply to study at university or undertake an apprenticeship. So that's the benefits of doing it. There is no disadvantage to studying it at A level. What I would also sort of say is that by studying A level, it's essentially the foundation year, by and large, of a degree. So again, it's preparing you for the next step. But don't forget as well all those skills I said that we would work on and develop together. So for now, I'm going to say see you in September. Stay safe. But if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and I've put my email address there for you to do so. Bye for now, everyone.